Well, if he really was filming everybody, I mean, he had a lot of people at those parties, right?
Had clients describe NBC as hell, as the worst conditions they've been in.
To start, one of the most shocking news stories in recent famous history came out. Diddy had been arrested. But it wasn't just his arrest that shocked everyone. On the same day that federal agents arrested him, stories began to spread that Diddy, who is one of the most powerful people in music and entertainment, had given up everything to help the police.
Took Sean Diddy Combs into custody. He's seen in this video entering the Park Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan with others when agents from Homeland Security Investigations approach and separate him. They place Combs under arrest and lead him out the front door in handcuffs.
What if the FBI showed up at Diddy's house? He wasn't the fearless mogul that everyone thought they knew so much about. He was a man who had nothing to lose. People who knew about the investigation say that Diddy was so shocked that he gave them information right away that could completely change the entertainment business. It's been said that Diddy gave the FBI more than just a list of names. He also gave them a list of all of his associates, including where he kept his most damning evidence, as well as instructions on how to find the people who helped him run his empire, many of whom have already fled the country.
This has to be a 100% culture shock. I can't imagine living a lifestyle of the incredibly rich and famous and then going into this very dark, impersonal, cold, austere facility.
The story went viral when Joe Rogan, a very popular podcast host, talked more about the plot in one of his shows, The Joe Rogan Experience. Andrew Scholes, a comedian, and Rogan talked about the chance that Diddy, who has long been suspected of being involved in shady dealings, may have been working with federal authorities for years. Scholes didn't hold back when the feds showed up, saying that it was no longer about Diddy but rather those important people he had dirt on. These people were scared and asked Diddy for help to stay safe, but he let them all go. In keeping with his characteristic approach, Rogan joined in, speculating that Diddy might have been coerced into cooperating by otherworldly forces, and that, rather than acting merely out of self-preservation, he might have been guarding something darker and more important.
We're tracking music mogul Sean Diddy Combs on watch at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center after 2 judges denied his request for bail. This as a grand jury is expected to hear new testimony from workers very soon.
After this talk, there were a lot of theories on social media, which led some insiders to think that Diddy had been a protected asset for years, working as a contractor for the FBI while giving them information in secret. While this idea may seem unlikely, there have been previous instances of celebrities in similar situations, so is it really that unlikely? Diddy's name has been linked to some of the most high-profile scandals in the entertainment business for years, and many are now wondering if he was involved in all of this.
I think in federal court and for these charges, they would say it's routine, but in the public realm, this is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, I mean, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in.
However, the facts of what Diddy gave up and the parties involved are what make this even more intriguing.
Of course, there's layers upon layers. When you get into these conspiracy theories, man, they never end. They never end. There's just layers upon layers.
Therefore, based on accounts that have leaked, Diddy didn't hold back when he began speaking, revealing hidden evidence vaults found in his numerous homes, including one secret stockpile that federal authorities found during a search on his Miami estate. It wasn't just about contracts or financial info either. It's rumored that Diddy had kept extremely sensitive material that implicated some of the biggest names in Hollywood's music business. We're not talking about passing references or rumors here. These are real recordings that have the potential to ruin the careers of important people. Some sources have even gone so far as to say that Diddy used these recordings as leverage for years in order to keep his untouchability.
The housing unit is a 24-hour lockdown unit, which means that any movement within that unit is controlled and coordinated, and no inmate moves outside of his cell without being in full restraints, to include leg irons, handcuffs, a belly chain, and at least 2, if not 3 staff members escorting them.
And one of the most shocking discoveries from Diddy's cooperation was the involvement of foreign figures. Rumor has it that as soon as Diddy began speaking, some of the most competent individuals he had worked with for years left the country, afraid that if they stayed, they might end up on the chopping block. Some of them are said to have fled to countries without extradition agreements with the US, making it more difficult for officials to find them. Others, understanding the inevitable, turned themselves in or started snitching on one another in an effort to make deals before the net closed in on them.
Now you got the Diddy situation where he jumps on a private jet, they say yesterday, and is on his way to the Cape Verde Island.
It sounds like a scene from a crime movie. Dramatic former allies who are now scattered throughout the world, afraid that any minute the door could be knocked on their heads. People who haven't left are supposedly in negotiations with lawyers to try to negotiate immunity or reduce sentences while keeping a watch on us. But as this story develops, the main question that everyone is wondering is what kind of information did Diddy have that was so damning that it sparked a mass exit?
Everything that you're looking at, they're all tied in together. Every part, as crazy as this seems, as outrageous as it seems, it all ties in.
More conjecture was raised by Joe Rogan's podcast regarding Long's alleged snitching in relation to other high-profile scandals, the most notable of which was his supposed role in igniting the bitter rivalry between East Coast and West Coast rappers Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls, which ultimately resulted in their untimely deaths. Years since many people think Diddy knew more about those events than he ever disclosed, Whispers has focused on his part. With his back to the wall, is it possible that Diddy is now revealing information from that time period as well?
With this newest lawsuit, this would probably only expedite or increase the amount of allegations and potential witnesses who could testify against Sean Combs.
Following the release of Rogan's podcast, other celebrities started to voice their views as well. One such star was Candace Owens, a longtime controversial figure in politics and pop culture. Owens used social media to back a long-running conspiracy theory on the internet, according to which Diddy was exempt from prosecution due of his connections to federal agencies. A horrifying video of Diddy allegedly abusing a former lover in a hotel way back in 2016 was revealed by Owens in a scathing post on X, the previous Twitter platform. The film, which Reezer first put online after being first suppressed, adds gasoline to the flames. Owens made a suggestion that Diddy's ties with law enforcement may have saved him from jail along the years, claiming that Diddy tried to tell everyone he wasn't in jail because he was an AFED or CIA asset.
Why doesn't the government want him to turn himself in? Because then they can't ask for detention. So they go and they arrest him. They arrest a guy who came to New York to turn himself in.
When the film Owens referred to was resurfaced, it sparked controversy again. If Diddy had such damaging footage on others, some wondered why he had stayed untouchable for so long, and if Diddy was an informant, how deep did his ties to law enforcement go? Could it be that he had been protected by the same system that was now taking him down? Cassie Venter, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, had filed the claim that led to the case's settlement.
Problems that the defense has brought up originally, but it seems like, just from reading this 14-page indictment, that there's enough physical evidence to perhaps get a conviction in this case.
Not only was there the video, but Diddy has been the target of multiple lawsuits for years. One of the most serious charges came from music producer Rodney Leroy Jones, who said that Diddy had forced him into some of the most horrible situations when they were collaborating on Diddy's music projects. Although Diddy is said to have had hidden cameras in his homes, recording everything that happened, Jones's case painted a dark picture of a man who allegedly used his influence and power to manipulate and control those around him. These tapes are allegedly part of the evidence Diddy turned over to federal agents, and people are now curious as to who else may have been caught on camera and what exactly those tapes show.
With very, very serious and salacious allegations, including allegations that Combs had cameras throughout his home.
Many celebrities are scrambling to distance themselves from Diddy as a result of the mere chance that these tapes contain material that could implicate some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry. Some of Diddy's closest friends and partners have already severed their ties in an effort to avoid any fallout from the upcoming legal storm. For some, it's a race against time as they try to determine whether they were ever captured on camera and what it could mean for their careers if those tapes become public for years. It appears that the wild parties and opulent lifestyle that Diddy was supposed to lead were only the top of the iceberg. What used to be considered a part of Diddy, the serious implications of his legal problems, are forcing a re-examination of the larger-than-life persona. Celebrities who attended his well-known gatherings are now being drawn into the discussion, and some are definitely feeling the heat. It's not only that they feel guilty by connection, it's also that they may have seen or taken part in something, and whether or not they run the risk of being exposed as well.
Wrote every aspect of her life. He is accused of frequently beating her and would hide her in hotel rooms for days until the bruising and signs of abuse were gone.
Now, so what is next? Is he going to be in jail in this facility until the trial begins? Is there a chance he could, get moved earlier than that?
As of this moment, as of this hour, as of today, yes. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to be appealing this thing next to the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn the judge's order here to try and get him actually released.
So that Diddy's arrest and alleged cooperation.
Dawn had the choice to file the case as a Jane Doe, and she chose not to do that. After giving it a fair amount of thought, she wants accountability.
That this is the end of the Diddy story as we know it.
Basically what that means is the money that they're saying Diddy has to start paying this guy on October 1st, right. Diddy's team is like, hold on, we need an emergency conversation about why this should not have been granted. Mm-hmm. And they awarded him a TRO, which basically meant that Diddy's team was not allowed to sell any property in that state or anything related to what could be used.
And Stacey, you say today's indictment reads like a mob indictment. What was most shocking to you of all these allegations?
Yeah, the fact that clearly there is a criminal investigation underway and that they believe that there would be evidence of crimes in one or both of these homes.
And in this lawsuit, he claims that essentially P. Diddy was the Epstein of the rap industry.
Diddy is now being sued in addition to what we just talked about by Dawn Richards. You guys will remember her. She was a part of Making the Band.
Dirty Money.
Dirty Money, the Danny Kane era. So basically what she is alleging, she's alleging a lot of
This is in the matter of Derek Lee Cardello Smith, MDOC number 267009 versus Sean Combs, Sean Puff Daddy Combs, also known as Sean P. Diddy, also known as Diddy, Bad Boy Records label owner.
The government is going to mandate that they are responsible for your well-being. They have to ensure the safety of your well-being.